Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am so excited to be here today because I have a very special guest who is actually what I call a power partner. And we'll talk a little bit about what we mean when we say power partners. But she is going to join me today, and we're going to talk about sort of that digital divide, how technology can cause us a little bit of angst, a little bit of trepidation, and what we can do to overcome that so that we can maximize our impact, our influence, and income. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to the amazing Sue Wilhite. Sue, how is it going?
It's great, LaWanna. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I have been counting down the days so I could be here. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. I am so glad that you said yes. And I know that you're going to bring a wealth of information and resources for our audience. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators, is just that. It is a raw, unapologetic conversation between two masterminds, talking about things that may create impediments for us and how we can push those aside, break through any glass ceilings, shift our mindsets in order to rise in our genius when it comes to our businesses and our purpose in the world of entrepreneurship. And I want Sue to tell you a little bit about herself as it relates to her background in technology and how she has journeyed from corporate sector into entrepreneurship. And then we're going to dig into this discussion about business technology. Is it an asset or distractor? Sue, take it away.
Well, welcome everybody to this wonderful show. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to give you some really good nuggets of information that are not just pieces of information, but actual things that you can take away and do something with, because I'm all about taking action. So here goes. Here's who I am and why in the heck should you listen to me? So I had a very interesting beginning where I thought that I was going to be a veterinarian. And I went to school, my elementary school, my junior high, and my high school. I was all about going to the University of California at Davis to become a veterinarian. I was going to do that. And then because I had a teensy-weensy little difficulty with mathematics, I failed most of my science classes in college. Now, this is very funny because everybody who knew me way back when, who knew that I had this challenge with math and with the sciences, would never in a million years have predicted that I would get into technology, right? But after I shifted my major to comparative literature, in spring quarter of my senior year, I took an intro to programming class. Now, I'll date myself and say this was 1981. Java wasn't even a glimmer in anybody's eyes at that point. This was introduction to programming in BASIC. And it changed my world. Making programs, creating programs, and having the output be something, it was magical, absolutely magical. And I got hooked on programming. And I ended up getting a job a few years later as a database analyst, programmer, systems analyst, and I rocketed to the top of my career. There was something in my brain, something that I just innately understood about computers and programs and systems analysis. And I was in the corporate center. I thought I would never leave until I became an IT manager. This is one of those things that I hear over and over and over and over again. LaWanna, I'm sure you've heard this too. The story of somebody who gets this really plum position and then discovers there are downsides to it. And the downside was the stress that I was under because I wanted everything to be wonderful for all the people who were in the companies that I was working for. I wanted things to be right for them, and I would work 15-hour days. I worked from Christmas to New Year's. I worked a ton, and I ended up getting an ulcer. And that was my pivot point to say, you know what? I need to work for myself rather than working for other people and having that pressure. So I pivoted to having my own business at that point. And I became kind of a counselor coach, as well as having a wonderful, thriving IT consulting business where I did programming and database design for multiple companies in the Silicon Valley. And
let me jump in right there because
yeah,
I love your story, and I love what you said that, and this happens to many of us. So many of you who are listening may have had a vision of what you wanted to do, this childhood desire, maybe even an adult desire. And for whatever reason, that door did not open as widely as you would have liked. In fact, in some cases, it just slammed shut.
right. But you know, LaWanna, I call it a stepping stone.
Exactly. And that's where I was going. It wasn't a stumbling block. It became a stepping stone into, like you used the word, innate.
Yes.
You took a class and suddenly the lights came on. There was this alignment. It's like, I get it. I see it. I can understand the logic, the sequencing. And then it puts you in this creative space, right?
Yes.
In the design numeric world, which is very interesting that you said you weren't so good at math, yet you excelled in design and programming.
Yes, because the computer did the math for me.
But you had to have the ability to interpret it.
Well, yes, but people would give me the kind of calculation that they wanted, you know, uh, inventory times, supply minus breakage. And I go, oh, okay, inventory, there's that field, supply, there's that field, breakage, there's that field. I stick them together. The computer calculates. I don't do it. I just had to tell the computer which pieces to put together. And I could do that.
I want to ask you a question because you said that you didn't want to date yourself. But since you were doing basic, do you remember the days of the big boxes?
Oh, yes.
Where you'd have all your
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The computers that I was working on, I didn't quite get to work on the computers that were as big as a room. But I did get to work on computers that were probably the length of your living room wall, and about chin height. So they weren't the really massive ones. But the first backup machines that I worked on were tape, the big old 12-inch reels, 15-inch reels,
exactly.
reel-to-reel backup.
I tell my nephew because he's 17 and he wants to go to Georgia Tech, and he says he wants to code and program. That he loves that. And I was telling him, I said, well, Auntie Wanna used to do that. And when I described to him that we would do batch analysis, I said, you spend all this time, you do the batch, and then it comes back and there's an error. And you're like, are you kidding me? going
card.
through everything all over again to wait till the next night for the
Right.
results.
Right. You
Yes.
had to, I had in my COBOL class, another date,
Yes.
I had to bring stacks of punch cards to the computer lab and
Yes.
hand them in and,
Yes.
pray,
It's like, please, please.
please let them not be out of order, let them not be wrinkled, let them, let it work. And then, like you said, 24 hours later, you finally get a result and it's like, oh, you missed a period. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I look at that, like you said, the computer did the calculations, but there's a precision in the science of programming and data analytics. And you've been able to translate, as you said, from this lived experience that ended up, you were passionate about it, but it ended up affecting you physically, to where you said, okay, I can't keep living like this, but I still love what I do. So you basically you fused two of your gifts, I think. So you have you have this empathetic side of you,
Mhm.
and you have an analytical side of you, which is an
Mhm.
interesting combination.
Yes, my left brain and right brain talk to each other. It's
Yes.
But actually, I would use that a lot in programming. There were times when I couldn't solve a problem, and all of a sudden, I can't even tell you what it is, but this weird kind of thing would come into my brain where I'd see this rotating picture of how it was supposed to go together. And it's like, oh, that, okay. And I get back in the office and there we go. So yeah, I was using my right brain a lot to do programming and systems analysis. And I think that's where my ability to see and work with patterns comes with, because that's
Mhm.
all programming
Yes.
is
Yes.
patterns, right?
Yes. So you're able to see in and outside of the matrix.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Oh, don't get me started on the Matrix. I'll go down that rabbit hole really fast.
So I want to ask you, and I'd like you to speak specifically to our women entrepreneurs who are watching or maybe considering taking that leap from corporate to entrepreneurship. How did you know that it was time and that you had what it takes to go through the hurdles that are part of the entrepreneurship journey? I mean, you don't have the safety net as you do in corporate, right? There's not a
Right,
guaranteed paycheck every other week or monthly. It's a little bit different in how it's shaped, right?
right. Well, I had, I'll call it 3 advantages in this, and you can cultivate these advantages, and I was apparently doing it completely unconsciously. First, I had contacts in the industry. I went to conferences, I went to user group meetings, I networked before I knew what networking was. So people knew me in the industry and knew what I did and what I was capable of. I spoke at conferences, so people knew who I was. So when I flung my hat into the ring, as it were, people were like, "Oh yeah, I'll take you. No problem." That was one advantage. The second advantage was that because of that networking, I almost didn't have to throw my hat into the ring. I had people who were already going, "Hey, you want a side job? You want a side gig? You want to do this? You want to do a little project for me off on the side, just this real quickie thing?" So, and some of them were a little bit more than quickies, but yeah, I ended up building relationships that way and getting referrals that way. And the third thing was, because I was working in business information systems, I learned business from the inside out. I was doing programs for everything but engineering, is what I used to say. Engineering had their own computer stuff. But I was doing sales, databases and systems, reports and programs. I was doing marketing. I was doing customer service. I was doing the whole inventory materials side of things. So I knew what was important. I knew what things were needed to be tracked. I knew how to track them. Uh, I knew what was going on in a business so that I had the experience when I got out into doing it myself of setting up those systems for myself.
I love that, and I'm putting this up here for everyone.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and I tell individuals, when you are fortunate to come from corporate, it does give you a bit of an advantage. You're right. And you said you have those industry contacts, those networks, you're building those relationships. And then because of your work and because of your speaking engagement and the interactions, your reputation preceded you. So as you said, you didn't have to, you let people know I'm available, but
Right.
you were being sought out, right?
Yes.
And then lastly, you always put yourself in this learning framework that when you started doing your own business, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand what it means to have, be customer centric and, provide
Yes.
this level of service and have this. And you said something so key, the systems and processes in place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so often I find a lot of entrepreneurs spinning needlessly because they are just hoping that I'm going to throw something at the wall and I hope it sticks. And it's like, you can have a great idea, but if it's not built on a process that can grow and scale and expand, then having, and we're going to get to this, all these technological tools in place for what?
Right.
Right? It's like, what's it going to sit on? Because it has nothing. You're just, it's the latest bling. And next thing you know, you've invested all this money in all of these applications and you're not using them. I mean, how many calendar apps do you need? I have a friend who has 5.
I see. Ow. Ow. No, you don't need that many. And it's too hard to keep track of. And if I can sort of dip into the psychology,
Yes.
having, for instance, that many calendar apps to keep track of makes your brain think it's busy,
Mm.
and you're not. You're managing the app, not your business. So you've got what Michael Gerber calls in the EMIT, you've got busyness instead of business, right? You're working on your business instead of in your business. And you're missing the whole point of what you're doing, which is the definition of business, in case y'all don't know this, is to provide a product or service in exchange for some consideration. And it might be time, money, or, seashells, whatever it is. But that is the
Exactly.
essence of business. It's not about getting calendar apps or, doing anything else. You're providing something in exchange for something else.
Exactly. That's the whole essence of commerce, right?
That's it.
Goods and services. What are
Yep.
you're exchanging that for an end result. And I love how you put this, and I'm going to use this quote. I love this. Are you busy managing the app and not your business? And I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? Because I often call it, are you busy kicking up dust?
Yes.
Right? Because it feels good. It's like, look at all this stuff
Right.
happening, but you're not going anywhere.
Right.
There's no-
Right. Because you've got to manage all of these apps, and what are you doing with them? What that gets down in the rabbit hole again. I'll stop before I go there.
No, and this is perfect because I'd like to show your video, your
Okay.
commercial that really sort of sets the context about where we're going in this conversation, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper with that. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Are you a business owner who feels frustrated with the many tech options? Do you know how to use social media, websites, and digital business cards effectively? Millions of people just like you are searching for these answers and don't know where to turn for support. Hi, I'm Sue Wilhite, and for over 25 years, I've helped business owners just like you to discover what really works for their business, to get rid of useless tech that's draining their money, and to increase their bottom line. Schedule a free Zoom session with me at the link you see on the screen, and I'll review your business systems and suggest ways to make an immediate difference. The session is completely free and you have no obligation whatsoever. Schedule your session now. It can change your life forever.
All right, make it happen, Maven.
Yeah. Because I want to make it
that's
happen.
a reality, right? I know.
Yes.
This summer I did a tech audit because there's things that you upgrade, and I do a lot of video design and stuff, and I thought, and I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I have my professional things, but then I have the little quickies. And I had my nephew going through all of this for me, and he said, Auntie Juana, why do you have this that can do this? I mean, it's like there's no difference. And then when I looked at what I was paying, it wasn't exorbitant, but it's still, why am I spending money on something I'm not even using? So let's talk about that, because so many individuals, and I get it, there are a lot of options out there, and we're bombarded all the time with, look at this widget, look at this app, join this program. And we get excited about the new, the innovation, but as you said, we're not working on our business. So I'd like you to talk about what you offer, not from just helping people to understand what they have and what they need to get rid of, but you talked about the mindset. So there's something that's happening that's causing us to keep bringing in more applications, more technology, but we still find ourselves in the same place that we were in January 2022.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. That I actually have started designing an ad for exactly that. It's like, hey, you were here, now you're here. Is that really where you wanted to be?
Yes.
So yeah, the mindset. One of the things that happens with entrepreneurs is if you're not getting clients, if you're not acquiring customers, then your business is going to fail. That's literally the bottom line. There has to be customer acquisition processes in place for you to be successful. And having 5 calendar apps and 14 video apps and 17 spreadsheets and who knows what other else, website with 14,000 different plugins in it that are all competing with each other. That's not helpful. That's not useful, but it feels like it is, because
Exactly.
in this digital day and age, you're seeing things, right? You're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on these things, and you can see things rather than having none of those distractions and just picking up the phone and reaching out to people and going, hey, I offer this. Is this something that you're interested in? Can we talk about it? Boom. There we go. Right? There's a reason why nearly, and I'll say nearly because there's some that don't offer this, but nearly every business coach out there says, and how many people have you contacted today?
Yes.
Right?
I want to share this with you. This is an email, a text message I got from my brother, who he works at Salesforce, and it's billion dollar company. And so it's end of the year, right? Everyone's pressing, right? Get those quotas. And so he has this financial target. And he said, you know what? I decided I'm going to finish the year by going back to basics. I'm going to call, and he's an executive. He goes, I'm going to call 10 customers. I'm going to email 20 customers, and I'm going to put proposals in front of 2 customers every day. Then believe and know it's going to happen.
Right.
So if big business is operating that way, how are we as small business owners and entrepreneurs? How do we think? Why are we thinking that we can do business differently?
Right. And how do you think they got to be big companies?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Salesforce started as a small little company. They don't spring into existence with high rises and a staff of 14,000 overnight. It
Exactly.
doesn't happen that way. They started small, but they started acquiring customers. And that's the bottom line. So if you have some kind of an app or some kind of a program that allows you to make contact with customers, puts you in front of customers, and oh, by the way, it's really helpful to get in front of the right customers. Can I tell a little story from my past?
Yes. And I love that you're going there. So yes, please.
It nearly put me off of sales for life. So after I graduated college, my original college, when I graduated UC Davis, having spring quarter my senior year gotten into programming, I went back to school to community colleges to take computer programming classes, more of them. And in the meantime, I wasn't really working very much. And so I ended up getting a job doing phone calls for a company that was promoting bowling leagues in the local bowling alley. And my job was to call this list of housewives. That was their niche, to call a list of housewives, women who would be at home during the day, call them up and ask them to join this bowling league. Now, here is the deal about customer acquisition. What they didn't tell me is that this is the 3rd time this list had been used.
So you didn't have exclusivity, huh?
Right? People were screaming at me. I was living in a you'll appreciate this as a military family. I was living off of a local Air Force base. And so a lot of the women who were at home were military wives. Unfortunately, one of the people that I called was the commanding officer of the base's wife. And she threatened to sue me because this was the 3rd time she had been called and was not appreciative of this. So don't let that scare you. Know who you're calling and make sure that there's somebody who wants to receive what you have to offer. That's the lesson in that. That's why you network. That's why you get referrals. That's why you put yourself out there so people will get to know you. And then the magic happens where people approach you and say, hey, Sue, I have this project that I need you for. Hey, I want to hire you. I was talking to my hairdresser the other day and she said, oh, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I've started doing this technology review thing and it's kind of cool. I'm doing this and this. She went, oh my God, I need you.
So, you said a couple things there. And the first thing is, well, I'm gonna rewind it, is be seen and be heard so people know you, but also you have to know your customer. And so I find so many of the small business owners and entrepreneurs that I deal with, if I ask them who their customer is, and I'll give you an example. It's one business, they are a travel agent and they're looking to grow. And I said, okay, perfect. I need to know, who is your customer? Everyone. I said, interesting. Why do you say everyone? She goes, because everyone wants to travel, is traveling, or is coming back from travel. And I said, that's not true. And she said, well, why not? I said, because everyone doesn't want to travel. I said, let's break it down. What type of travel do you offer? She said, all travel. I said, okay, so you offer everything from expeditions to honeymoons, family vacations, solo ventures. Are you really, you're an expert in all of those? I said, because travel is pretty broad. And as we kept unpackaging it, it finally came down to, she does, most of her clients were honeymooners and individuals going on family reunions. And I said, okay, that's your niche. That's your core client. Now let's look at, how are you messaging them? How are you communicating with them? And do you have any special packages? If you know individuals are doing family reunions, part of your, as you said, your customer acquisition is that discovery session. How often do you have reunions? Do you have a dedicated travel resource? How can I be that with you? But it amazed me that, again, this individual, she was so emphatic. I serve everyone and I provide all types of travel. And so many go with this macro look at business. And again, you're just hoping something sticks. And hope isn't a method.
Right. Can I tell you my favorite niche?
Yes.
I was at a networking event and introduced myself to a woman who was there and said, "What do you do?" And she said, this is my favorite, "I help Argentine tango dancers get back on their feet again when the high heels have made their feet sore."
Wow.
And I went, wow, it just so happens that one of the places that I'm working right now is just down the street from the Argentine tango studio. Give me some of your cards and I'll go hand them out there. If she had come to me and said, "Hi, I'm an acupuncturist," I would have gone, "Oh yeah, okay, I know a dozen of those."
Yeah, she was so specific that
So specific.
You could see it, right? She created an avatar that you could see. And it's like,
Right.
okay, I can create these mental connections. And yes, I know someone that you need to know. Exactly.
Right. And that's actually what some of these the technology can do now. I mean, there are wonderful apps out there now who can drill down and find exactly who you're looking for. But there's also the danger, like my bowling league list, you want to make sure that it's not a list that has been over marketed, right? I am constantly getting cold emails and cold phone calls. They leave messages. "Hi, I understand you're a coach and I can help coaches make 7 figures in 2 years." And that, it's like, go away. You
Yeah,
don't
it's
know
like,
me.
how do you know I'm not already at 7 figures?
Right? Right? No. Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, those are a little presumptuous, and it bothers me. And I get a lot of like DMs, and I'm thinking, why don't you try to build a relationship? Understand
Right?
what I do first. Show me that you're interested in me. Because I always tell people, when you lean in and you show you that you're interested, then you become interesting and memorable.
Right.
Right?
Right. And here's the takeaway from that, LaWanna. Even though I said the definition of business is an exchange of goods and services for some consideration, the middle part is invisible, and it's called a human being. Right? There are
Yes.
people in the middle of that. There are human beings in the middle of that. If you take the human beings out, there's no exchange. You're in a vacuum. Nothing happens. So
Exactly.
you need to be a people person. You need to be interested in people. You want to be interested in people. You want to have these connections. And if you're in business and you loathe and hate people, get somebody else to be your front person. Hire
That was gold that you just said, because there are many people who that's just not their personality. It's like I want to deal with the business and not with the people. But as you said, who is that front person? And I'll just use fast food. You have those that work on the grill, those hostesses that are in the restaurant area, and then those that are at the cashier. That's not by accident.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You want those that have that customer interfacing to be the most warm, courteous, empathetic, patient people possible.
Right. Right. And just think about using your example. You go to a restaurant and you get somebody who seats you by snapping gum and, kind of going, oh, yeah, oh, you want to eat here? Fling the menu down. Whatever, eat whatever. Oh my God, you want water? I mean, 5 seconds of that and I'd be, okay, lady, I'm out of here. I'm done. I might even be inspired to put in a review on Yelp or someplace else for that, because that's not good customer service. But there was a gyros place down the street from one of the places I used to work. I loved coming in there. It would just brighten my day because I'd come in and he'd go, Sue, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Oh, I have your plate over here already. Yeah, we got it. Oh, yeah, that baklava, that just sort of fell on the plate. Don't worry about that. Customer for life.
Definitely. And when you become that customer for life, don't you find yourself always referring people if they're like, hey,
exactly.
You know a good restaurant? Oh, you got to try.
Yes.
It's just automatic. And I tell clients the value in the referral is priceless.
Yes.
And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that because you work on both sides, again, from the coaching standpoint and the technology. But let's talk a little bit about customer service, understanding who your client is in a way that will appeal and attract more people to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, my favorite question whenever I start a discovery session, I call it an enlightenment session, or anything, is what do you want? What do you want? What is and I'll keep asking that question. It gets really annoying, I'll admit. But what do you want? What ultimately are you going for with the business? Because that's the other side. It's not the middle, it's the other side. Why are you creating this product or service in exchange for consideration? So that what is it that you want from that? And maybe the answer is, okay, I want to make $1 million. Great. What are you going to do with that $1 million? What does that get you? So that, and what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And when you get to that deep level of why is it that you want what you want, then you can bring that invisibly, but not unfelt, very palpable, to your customer interactions, and know that you've got this larger thing that you want that is not about wanting their business. You've got to have it right here and now, right? There's a different energy to it, right?
Right. It's not a desperate energy. So there's
It's not a desperate energy.
Your why is what is the driving factor. The money, the customers, that's a byproduct.
Right.
Right.
And
But
maybe
there's something else that's driving you.
Yes. And when you have that, then your customer service becomes joyful. It's not a 4-letter word, even though customer service is considerably longer than 4 letters. I can do that math. It's it's, "Oh boy, I get to work with this person because not only do I get to help them, but it's going to bring me farther along on the path of the thing that I really want." Right? It's not
Yes.
just, "Oh my god, please, 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 I've got to pay the rent." No, no, it's not that. It's, "Oh
Right.
boy, I get to help this person because this is going to be helping things down the line." And I'll share with you something that's not mine, but I certainly resonated with it. I heard Russell Brunson, who is the owner of uh, not Leads Pages. What's the other one? Oh, my brain just went on a blank. I'm so sorry, Russell. Um, one of the landing page technologies. And he said, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm not a dog trainer. I don't help kids who have childhood
Not
diseases.
GoDaddy.
No, he's not GoDaddy. No, it's a landing page.
Oh, landing
Uh,
page. Okay.
yeah. He says, I don't do any of those things, but I make technology so that those people can help the people behind, their customers. And that's what he's all about is, oh my God, I can provide this service so all these people can have their businesses and touch millions of people. And he said that is his driving force behind what it is that he does. And I loved that. That is absolutely true. I took that on as a conscious motivation. I want to help entrepreneurs be successful so that they can help their clients, and their clients can be moved to a different level or have whatever it is that they need so that they can then pass it on. And so it becomes this ripple effect out in the world, right? It's
Exactly.
so cool.
And it's huge when you're able to take your gifts and talents, package it in this entrepreneurial ribbon, and press with intention, be purposeful. It's amazing the long-term impact. It's like the legacy that you're living and building
Yes.
should outlive you.
Yes.
Like you said, when you're changing, if you're able to change a business, Sue, you've just changed that household, their
Yes.
income,
Yes.
perhaps the destiny of their children, depending on what that business is doing, the employment, the economic sustainability in and around their community, because you took the time to lean in, to listen, to take your knowledge of technology, of business, and the human side of it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
The brain and what and how it can control what we do and what we receive and or repel in our lives. You're able to take all of that and guide, and that's pretty powerful. I mean, when you just sit in that, it's like change one, you've changed the community, you've changed, the next
Everything.
generation.
Yes. Yes. And you have no idea what that impact would be. When it gets down to the third and fourth level, you have no clue, no clue whatsoever. And yet it changes everything in the world,
Yes, it
right?
does. We're going to take a little break. Today is Giving Tuesday. So,
Yes.
ladies, gentlemen, have you thought about that? Based upon where you are, I don't care how great or small it is, how can you turn and bless someone else, bless a charity, bless a business, bless someone by just giving, not just today, but every day in some small way. So here we go. This is Help Heal Humanity. And it's a charity that my women's organization has been supporting throughout the year. And I just love the passion of the director, Serena Bufalino.
For the past 5 years, Help Heal Humanity has successfully run an elementary school in Canaan, Haiti. Due to COVID-19, the political unrest, and the recent earthquakes, food is scarce. The students attending our program are coming to school starving, and therefore causing a disruption in their academic goals. We need your help, now more than ever, to provide these students with the nourishment they need to continue their education. Our goal is to raise $100,000 so we can feed 100 kids lunch daily and set
And that's my company, the Bradford Group. And in this time of just economic uncertainty and shifts, this conversation that we're having is so critical in paramount with what I'm doing in my business, really assessing, our processes. How can we streamline even more and position ourselves that when things open up, that we are the first point of consideration. And while things are still kind of all over the map, and when I say open up, we know where the interest rates are going. We do specific loans for your business owners and your investors. So really helping them to create that financial sustainability that they're looking for. And Sue, we're almost at the top of the hour, and it's that time for you to shine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take myself down. Ladies and gentlemen, I reintroduce you to Sue Wilhite, and she is just going to pour into you. And I encourage you to remember her name, reach out, connect. You never know how you may be blessed by this interaction. Take it away, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you, LaWanna. So let me tell you a story of one of my clients. My client had a website, still has a website, fortunately. He had a customer try to buy one of his ebooks off of his website, and his customer, after about 2 weeks, called him up and said, I never received the ebook. I never got an email. I never got anything from this. Where is my ebook? And my customer was not necessarily familiar with what was going on his website because he had used one of the sites that you can contract for a web designer to, you pay them a couple of $100, they put up your website, and that's kind of it for them. They don't come back. They don't necessarily maintain it. And so my customer had no familiarity with his website whatsoever. And he called me because he knew that I knew tech. And he said, what is going on with my customer and why isn't he getting his ebook? Well, it turns out that the web designer had installed competing software that was blocking the ability for emails to go out from the website, which would have emailed the ebook. And as I was digging further, I found that links were broken, that certain pieces of software had expired, and because they were what were called premium software, my customer had not paid the premium for the year because he had no idea that it existed. And so these pieces of software were not functioning. They hadn't been updated in a year. And so basically I came back and said, okay, well, I can fix this problem, but here's a list of other things that are going on your website. And long story short, I ended up having to fundamentally redo his website and prune things that were premium and the things that were competing with each other. For instance, let me just tell you, he had three pieces of software that were supposed to gather and display testimonials. You only need one. You only need one. It's like the 5 calendars that LaWanna was talking about. And oh, by the way, he didn't really have a calendar program. He had a click here for to sign up for my coaching, and it was a contact form. And it was supposed to be emailed to him, but if you remember, he had these competing things on his website, so the contact form would never reach him. So he had had a website for the better part of a year that was completely dysfunctional. I'd like for your website to not be dysfunctional. I would like for you to pick a calendar program that works for you, that does what you need it to do. There are many options, but you don't need to have all of them. I would love to sit down with you. The link is at the bottom of the screen, sweetsoundofsuccess.com/enlightenment. Have an enlightenment session with you, and we could go through your technology. We can evaluate what it is that you want, what it is that is really working for you, and what isn't working for you, and prune away some of these things that you don't need, so that not only does your bottom line get healthier, but you are more efficient in the way that you interact with your customers, so that you can have a business that is not just surviving, but thriving and healthy and making a huge difference in the world. Imagine if your customers couldn't reach you. That would be horrendous. Don't let that happen. Allow me to help you. It's totally no charge. I love doing these evaluations and being able to make simple suggestions to help you be successful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, LaWanna, for having me on the show. This has been an absolutely wonderful thing. And again, go to that website, soundofsuccess/enlightenment, so that we can schedule your enlightenment session and get your business successful.
I love this. Thank you so much, Sue. And I love the story that you share. And that's frightening. You have this website and you think that it's doing all that it's supposed to, and you're not getting the leads.
It was so pretty. It was beautiful.
And that's a distraction. We can get distracted by all the bells and whistles, but what is it functional? Is it giving you what you expected it to do? And I encourage all of you, if you have not had, and I'm calling it a website audit, if you haven't had one lately, or maybe never, reach out to Sue. It's no charge, but she may be able to find ways for you to save money and make more money. But you don't know what you don't know. And how much rewarding is it to have a partner walking with you who's looking through your business with a technological lens? That's value added, folks. Again, she's looking at it in a way that you're not looking at it, because for you, it's my website. I hope people stumble across it. I hope it's working. In fact, is it even up? Have you checked? Is it even up? Because I know I've found some. I've had to call people to say, your website's down.
Right. And they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And technology is shifting in such a way, and I will put this little nugget out there, this little teaser out there. Do you need a website, or is there an alternative that would serve you better and way cheaper? Way cheaper.
Yeah. So if you're curious about, what could that be? sweetsoundofsuccess.com/enlightenment. Again, sweetsoundofsuccess.com/enlightenment. And Sue will walk you through, again, other alternatives. And you're right, Sue. Customers are reaching us in different ways. And as we evolve, they're evolving. So you want to stay ahead of the curve. I like to say, don't be on the sidelines wondering what's happening. Try to be in front of the wave. And if you can't be in front of the wave, at least learn how to hot dog and ride the crest of the wave. But don't be overtaken by it.
Yes.
So, Sue, thank you again so very much for being on the show. We'll definitely have to have you come back so we can talk about the other side of your business and get into a little
right brain stuff.
introspection, right? A little inner size work.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back. And to our listening audience, thank you so very much for joining me and Sue this evening on another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no holds barred forum for leaders and innovators. We come at you on E360 TV every week at Tuesday at 6 p.m., streaming on Roku, Samsung, Apple TV, iHeart, and Spotify. So you can find us anywhere. Again, Business and Financial Raw Talk. And again, reach out to Sue Wilhite. And with that, always remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next time, be safe and happy holidays. Bye, everyone.